Amen. All right, Brother Bob, come on up as we get back to our study in the book of Joshua. Uh, it's an easy one for me to remember which one we're at. We're going to, let me find out here. I felt like, and I told Bob after last week, I talked and talked and talked. Brother Bob, I had to apologize to you because I talked way too much. I don't know if you had anything from last week's because I just kept going. So you might have had stuff from last week that you were wanting to share that I just talked way too much. Did you have anything, brother?
No, I really didn't. So you covered it rather well.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I don't know whether we're going to talk about verse 63 here at the end of chapter 15.
we're going to hit that one again. Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah. And so last week we talked about this. So Caleb had said, "Hey, anybody that can go take over this city." Anybody remember the name of that city that they said that they wanted them to go take over? Because if they went and took this place, then he was going to give his daughter to this person. Y'all remember that story? Yeah, and what was the name of the city? KS, right? Yep. But it was also known as what? Debir, yeah. And so when you look at those two descriptions, it was almost like this was a county seat or something. Because of the names, those names, one of them was about books or records or laws, and the other one was really about sanctuary or a place of worship. It seems like this place that Caleb offered to someone was what we would consider like a county seat where all of the laws and the rules and things were kept at, but also as a place of worship and kind of the hub for pagan worship. And so there was a guy that decided that he was going to go do this. Anybody remember that guy's name? Othniel. And he ends up, what did he become later on? We looked at who he became. What did he become? The first judge. This guy that goes and wins this battle gets to marry Caleb's daughter, is the first judge for the children of Israel. So I think it's kind of an interesting story that's kind of weaved in amongst the text there. Let's see. Was there anything else on the recap that I missed? Anybody else had anything else you want to talk about from last week? Because if not, we're going to go on. All right, last week we hit on it a little bit, and I want us to go back to it. Remember, they were dividing up the land. That's what's taken place. The children of Israel have come over into the promised land. They've won all these battles, and now they're starting to divide up the land. And last week I pointed out this city of salt, and we talked about whether or not this city of salt was the place of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we talked a little bit about that. But, Bob, you pointed out verse number 63.
Right.
And so let's look at verse number 63. Ruth, if you would read that one. So it's in Joshua chapter 15, verse number 63, last verse in verse number 15. And so let's look at that again.
As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out. But the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem to this day.
All right, Brother Bob.
Well, one of the interesting things about this that Jerusalem was actually not in the territory assigned to the tribe of Judah. It came up to the very wall there, the Hinnom Valley, and but obviously there was quite a few Jebusites in that area, and we find here, this is about 1400 BC, and we find David is still dealing with them when he started to reign in Jerusalem, and that was around 1000 BC. So it's 400 years here that he's still having to deal with that. But and we'll find here when we talk about Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, he actually had Jerusalem within his territory, within his tribe. And it was called Jebus, Jebus. at the time from the Jebusites. So anyway, that's pretty interesting. And the area that they're really concerned about is Mount Moriah, this area that is the most holy and most valuable property in the world. It is considered that. And we see that David comes along and buys that threshing floor, and it's on Mount Moriah. And if you remember what else happened on Mount Moriah, this is where Abraham took Isaac to sacrifice him. This is where the first temple was built and the second temple was built on this spot. So this area is pretty amazing. Mount Moriah is not a real large area. It's about 1,600 feet long by 1,000 feet wide. And it sits about 300 feet below Mount of Olives. You know, you've been there. You've stood on the Mount of Olives and looked down and you see the Dome of the Rock and so on within the walls. And it's pretty amazing to see this. So even the tribe of Judah was dealing with the Jebusites too, as well as the tribe of Benjamin.
Yeah, and as Bob talked about the Dome of the Rock. It's that famous picture you ever see of Jerusalem with that picture you always see with that golden dome. That's what he's talking about. That's where Abraham took Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, Bob, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, isn't it also where Muhammad flew on a donkey and landed there or something? I'm not being silly. I really,
Well,
or was that Mecca? Supposedly, I think he flew on a donkey and landed. I thought it was that same place.
There's that foundation of the rock that's inside the dome. Are you familiar with it? Have you seen it? You have to be a Muslim to get in there. And supposedly he ascended to heaven there. But
Oh, is that what it is? I thought he.
Well, there might be. I know.
I know Scott's going to look it up. I know Scott. He's going to look it up. I can already tell. But I just say that to say that when Bob talks about this piece of property, folks, you can take Judaism, Christianity, and Muslim
That's right.
religions all back to this specific location in Israel. Right now, it's controlled by the Muslims.
In fact, if you look, there are many of the nations have built facilities there around that. On Mount of Olives, the Russians have built a tower there. It's been there for years. If you look at the mountain to the north there, the Mormons have a big facility there.
Yep.
They're quite amazing at the different people. And if you remember, I might tell this here. I don't think I've told this before, but we know where the Golden Gate is, the gate on the east. It's been sealed off, where Christ is supposed to return and come through that. Well, a ruler of the Muslims in 1517 actually sealed that up. And in 1964, they were doing a geological survey to this group of men was going to build a big hotel on top of Mount of Olives. And they went in and did a geological survey. And in that area, there is a fault that runs north and south down through here, and it follows the Jordan Valley through here. Well, they discovered there's another fault there, and it runs east and west across Mount of Olives toward the East Gate. And that actually, I've looked at it, and it goes almost up to the East Gate, which kind of thinks, the mountain is supposed to split.
The mountain is supposed to split,
when Christ
yeah.
returns, and part of it will go north, part of it will go south, and it actually comes almost up to that entrance, and then it cuts around the south part of Mount Moriah. And I just thought, boy, that looks like a God plan to me.
Amen.
To put it there, but it's quite amazing. So they didn't build anything. They wouldn't let them after they discovered that.
Hey, Seth, would you find a picture of Jerusalem and the picture of the Golden Dome or the Gold Rock of the big? Yeah, find that and put it up on the screen, and so we can talk a little bit more about it. But the city of David, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll see here from this here, because that is kind of a question when you read about the city of David and what's Jerusalem and what's Mount Zion. And there is an area there that when David, if you remember, he was king in Hebron for 7.5 years before he was over all the nation of Israel for 33 years. And he came in and he had trouble taking the city and the Jebusites and so on. And he actually built an area which is, I believe it's the southern part of this that we'll see that comes down. But is it got it there?
Yeah, he's working on it. But the reason we handed out, remember the Russian map that we gave you? The reason we gave you the Russian map was because it's the one that actually shows Jerusalem with Benjamin. A lot of maps show it. I want a bigger picture. Not of that dome. I want the whole city of Jerusalem. I'm sorry, Jerusalem. I was just, kind of that was good. You executed flawlessly what I asked you to. I just asked the wrong thing, brother. But that's the reason you got this map, was to show, because we'll see it. Benjamin actually had Jerusalem in their area. So,
If you're familiar with that area and where the wall is, the Kindred Valley comes down the east side. The Hinnon Valley comes around to the south side of it, and the city of David's set in there.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was just south of the Dome of the Rock. I don't know whether it included that or not, the city of David, but there was an area that David did take. But the temple and so on is on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to see there, so we might have to see if we can come up with a better picture to show it. So.
Yeah, we need a good map.
What's so funny? Oh, yeah. It was a fail, Seth. All right. Let's keep going on our text. Here's one of the points that we're trying to make.
Yeah,
That verse number 63 is really important for you to understand. When it says that they did not run out the Jezebites, why is that significant? That's a critical verse. Why is it important? They were supposed to run them out. And it said to utterly destroy them, to get rid of them completely. Beverly, what did you say? I liked what you said. They disobeyed. Them not running them out. That scripture, that one little verse right there says they disobeyed God. Now, don't forget what Bob just kind of ran past right there. David is going to be dealing with this 400 years later. Because they disobeyed God, he continues to have to deal with it. It continues to be an issue.
Yeah. And we also see some of the other tribes that did not run out. The Canaanites, they had trouble running the Canaanites out and getting rid of them. So they became a thorn in their flesh for many, many years. They finally, in some cases, they made servants out of them.
Yeah. And in fact, we'll look at some of that tonight. So don't miss that one verse that's stuck in there, because it is important. So let's go ahead and start diving into tonight's study. Let's start in chapter 16, verses 1 through 4. Let's go ahead and read those verses.
The lot fell to the children of Joseph from the Jordan by Jericho, to the waters of Jericho on the east, to the wilderness that goes up from Jericho through the mountains to Bethel. Then went out from Bethel to Luz, passed along the border of the Arkites at Ataroth, and went down westward to the boundary of the Jephlethites, as far as the boundary of lower Beth Horon to Gazar, and it ended at the sea. So the children of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim, took their inheritance.
Yeah, and I wanted us to read those 4 verses just so that we remember this whole thing about Joseph's land was actually, he got a double portion, one for each one of his sons. And so this is starting that process. Now remember, there was something special about Manasseh's land, and what was different about Manasseh's land? Half on the east, half on the west. And so Manasseh has land actually on both sides of the Jordan, and now we're on the west side of the Jordan that we're starting to look at now. All right. Let's see. Let's read verse number 5.
The border of the children of Ephraim, according to their families, was thus: The border of their inheritance on the east side was Adar, as far as upper Beth Horon.
All right, so now we're looking at Ephraim, and jump down to verse number 10.
And they did not drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt among the Ephraimites to this day and have become forced laborers.
Yeah, so verse 10 is important the same way that verse 63 is important, and it's because, folks, they are deliberately disobeying God. When he said that they let them stay, that was a deliberate disobeying of what God had told them to do. Now, they will also continue to deal with this through the years. I want you to know, I truly believe that this is pictures for us about whenever we let sin stay in our life. Whenever God tells you to do something or to not do something and you continue to do it, folks, I think he expects you to utterly destroy it inside your life. And if you don't, then you're going to be dealing with it for years and years and years. He wants you to get rid of it in your life. And I think, Bob, I actually think that's part of the reason why we see this story of the importance of following exactly what God says to do. Yeah. When he says to do it and you don't, there's consequences that are going to come back to haunt you because of it.
Well, you know, in our own life, there are things that we can get addicted to that will destroy our lives. And this is kind of what happened here. They didn't rid that. They didn't get rid of that. And we have this sin. People that gamble, it becomes an addiction. And the gambling, I guess there are some rich gamblers.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know a lot of people that lost a lot and really ruined their lives through it. And that's the way.
Most of them it does.
That's right. Pornography is like that.
I think there's so many addictions that people fall into that can get there. But and I'm glad you mentioned this gambling, folks. I'm concerned with all the sports gambling that's going on. It is everywhere. You can't do anything without seeing it.
That's right. And then we expect it not to affect ourselves. And it'd be like Denver did when they legalized the marijuana and so on. Then they had to come up and charge taxes for rehabilitation.
Yep.
You know, now we're going to rehabilitate you for the sin. And it just on and on. It's never ending. It just keeps eating away at you. It's just a disease that keeps on. People that spend more than they earn, what do? Well, you're going to be in poverty all your life. It's just things like that we don't follow God's instructions that affect our lives directly.
It continues. Notice what happens to the Canaanites. What does it say happens to the Canaanites? They become forced laborers. What does that mean? They became slaves. What I find that really interesting because where did the children of Israel come from? Egypt. And what were they in Egypt? Slaves. And now they thought, I guess now we get the turn. And so they thought, we're just going to turn around and do to people what has been done to us. Even though that was not the direction that God had given them. All right, let's start in chapter 17. Do you have anything else in chapter 16?
No, that's
I've
fine. Got
like 3 chapters worth of notes, which is, if we do that, brother, it's going to be amazing. We've never done 3 chapters ever, I don't think.
Well, a record.
Let's
read chapter 17, verse number 1.
There was also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph, namely for Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war. Therefore he was given Gilead and Bashan.
All right, so now we're looking at Manasseh and the land and that he is going to get. But there's something kind of special that takes place with Manasseh. And so let's jump down to verse number 5 and read what verse number 5 says.
10 shares fell to Manasseh, besides the land of Gilead and Bashan, which were on the other side of Jordan.
All right, so how many shares fell to Manasseh? 10. Why did 10 fall to Manasseh? Why did Manasseh get 10 shares? What? That's how God did it. Maybe so. However, there's another reason. There's not really another reason. How many of y'all remember back whenever we studied Numbers chapter 27? Anybody remember Numbers 27? Or do you want to recap? We better recap. Let's flip back to Numbers chapter 27. All right, Numbers chapter 27. Let's read verses 1 through 7. So everybody turn back there to Numbers chapter 27, verses 1 through 7.
Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, from the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and these were the names of the daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses, before Eleazar the priest, and before the elders and all the congregation, by the doorway of the tabernacle of meeting, saying...
All right, so follow what's happening. There's this group, these 5 ladies that have come, and they are the daughters of Zephlinhead. And so these 5 daughters come to Moses, and they're having a conversation with Moses. And so that's what's taking place here. Verse number 3.
Our father died in the wilderness, but he was not in the company of those who gathered together against the Lord in company with Korah, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his family because he had no son?
All right. So they come and say, hey, this Zephlin guy died, and now he didn't have any sons. He only had daughters. And they're like, hey, and coming to Moses saying, hey, this ain't right if you forget our dad, because there's no boys in the family. And so that's what's taking place right here. And now let's read verse number 5.
It says, give us a possession among our father's brothers. So Moses brought their case before the Lord.
I love that verse. I don't know how much we talked about this whenever we taught through Numbers 27, but folks, that is a critical verse. Verse number 5. Moses was presented with this issue, this thing that he had to decide, and notice what Moses did. Took it to the Lord. Got this decision, this issue, this problem. This isn't the normal way that we would do things. This doesn't follow along what God had told us to do. And so we've got a problem. And what does he do? He takes it to the Lord. Now let's read verses 6 and 7.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, the daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You shall surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them.
Yeah, read another one, I think. Was that 7? Go ahead and read 8.
And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter.
Oh, okay, so anyway, so Manasseh had 5 sons. He actually had 6. And Zephlin died, but he had 5 daughters. So there's 5 sons that had sons, and then the 5 daughters of Zephlin, and so that's how he got 10. So when we read over here in Joshua chapter 17, verse number 5, that Manasseh got 10 shares, it's because these women came to Moses and talked to Moses, and God said, you know what? Yep, let's do it that way. That's the reason Manasseh ended up with 10 shares. The 5 sons that had sons, and then the 1 son that only had daughters, they got 5 shares between them. And so, Brother Bob, I don't know. I just found that kind of interesting as I studied through. Why does it say that he had 10 shares?
Yeah, that is very interesting, and it is divided out. And apparently that's the reason why, is that there were 10 of them that shared in that, and they got if you look at it, it looks like the biggest area.
Yeah, look at your map, and you'll see just the large amount that Manasseh got, because they got 10 shares, and they got land on the east and the west. But on your map, it's that big yellow part. I know you can't read Russian, but that's the big yellow part right there in the middle. I think it's yellow.
Yeah, and then too, we said this before, that on the east side, I think, went all the way up to Mount Hermon. If you see Hermon on there, it actually went up that far to where.
It does, yeah. This map actually does it wrong in the fact that the land actually ran way up here into Mount Hermon.
Yeah.
And so Manasseh really did have a very, very large structure. All right, any questions on why Manasseh got 10 shares? We good? Now here's the other thing. Him giving Manasseh 10 shares was absolutely obedience to God. I've told you twice now about them being disobedient to God, but this is an example where they absolutely obeyed what God said to do. Now let's jump down in chapter 17, read verses 12 and 13.
Yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites were determined to dwell in that land. And it happened when the children of Israel grew strong that they put the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not utterly drive them out.
Guess what I want to say about this? Say it. They did it again. We've looked at 3, and we've seen 3 that did not follow what God told them to do. Now, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but because they did not drive them out, years later they're still going to be dealing with this. Have y'all ever heard that? Good. I've already said it twice. That was the 3rd time. It's the same thing in your life. Folks, if you don't get rid of sin in your life, you're going to continue to deal with it. I don't care what it is. If you don't deal with it, if you don't get rid of it, you're going to suffer from it the rest of your life. Deal with it. Utterly destroy it. Get rid of it. I was reminded of this story, and I know I've told this story, but I think it fits well here. One day whenever I was running, I think it was like 18 miles I was going to run that day, and I had a little pebble that got in my shoe, and I kept running, and it would get lodged, and it would hurt, and if I kicked my toe, it would get where I didn't step on it. And so I was running, and it would get hurting, and I would kick my foot as I was running, and the pebble would move, and then I could keep running, I wouldn't feel it, and then it would come back up, and it'd start bothering me again. And I did that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 miles, where I'm just like fighting this little pebble. And I finally stopped, took off my shoe, dumped it out, put it back on, and took off running. It never bothered me again. When I took the time to stop and deal with the sin, the rock, it stopped bothering me. Never bothered me again. Too many times we just keep living our life and keep going about our business, thinking, oh, I'm just going to kick this around and it's going to stop bothering me and it'll be okay. No, stop what you're doing and deal with it. Get rid of it. It will get to be a boulder or a blister. Those hurt too, brother. But great point. It does grow. Anyway, Bob, I don't know why we see this repeated in Scripture, but the children of Israel really struggled with following through with God. And it's not that they couldn't win the battles. They had already won so many battles. They could have utterly destroyed them.
Yes, they could.
But they
had no
didn't.
choice. And God would have helped them do that. He had promised them that he would. But they had to take action. They had to get in there and essentially repent, get it done. But they didn't. And it kept on being a problem.
It just continues to be a problem. Anything else, brother? Let's keep going. Let's move to verses 14 through 18 in chapter 17, verses 14 through 18.
Then the children of Joseph spoke to Joshua, saying, "Why have you given us only one lot and one share to inherit, since we are a great people, inasmuch as the Lord has blessed us until now?"
Hey, well, by the way, now stop right there. What did the children of Manasseh just say? Why did we only get this much? Didn't I just show you that they got 10 shares? And did you see what the people that got 10 shares just said? We don't have enough. We want more. We want more. Give me more. Sounds like kids today, amen? I guess
enough.
kids anytime. And they say, why did you just give us one lot, one share to inherit? In other words, there was 10 of us and we each only got one. And they didn't think that was right. Now look at the map. If you look at the map again, they actually got a lot more than everybody else did. But that's not the way they were looking at it. All right, let's keep going, see what happens here. Is it up there? It's the one right in the middle, that big yellow one that says Manasseh on, yeah, right there. And go up, go north there. It actually goes all the way up into Hermon. Their land actually goes way up in there as well. So, great find on the Russian map. Yeah. Let's read verse number. Let's go keep going. Verse number 16 now, or 15 now.
So Joshua answered them, "If you are a great people, then go up to the forest country and clear a place for yourself there in the land of the Perizzites and the giants, since the mountains of Ephraim are too confined for you."
I love Joshua's answer. All right, big boy, you think you're so good? Just go clear out the land. I've already given you the land. You just bragged about how many you are. Well, go take it. Go deal with it. That's a good parent right there. I'm not giving you any more. You've got enough. All right, let's see what they say. Verse number 16.
But the children of Joseph said, "The mountain country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both those who are of Bethshean and its towns, and those who are of the valley of Jezreel."
All right. You hear them just whining? Wait, there's so many of them. They got big chariots. If you were Joshua right now, you would want to say, did you not just see how God won all these battles for us? What's your problem? What's your problem? Go get it. It's okay. I've given you the land. But they just start whining like little kids. We want more. This is not enough. Don't make me work for my inheritance. Just give me more. Isn't that interesting? Don't make me work. Give me something for free. Huh. That sounds familiar, doesn't it, brother?
Yes, it does. It sure does.
What'd you say? It's in the United States. Half of these people are here in the United States. All right, let's see what Joshua says, because now Joshua's got to answer it. And so let's read verse 17.
And Joshua spoke to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, saying, "You are a great people and have great power. You shall not have only one lot, but the mountain country shall be yours. Although it is wooded, you shall cut it down, and its farthest extent shall be yours. For you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots and are strong."
Yeah. He says, I don't care what you say. Go do the work you're supposed to do. Right? Sometimes I wish parents would say that to kids. Stop your whining. Get up and go do the dishes. I don't know why I said that. I don't even have kids at home anymore. I can say...
Well, it's a point that we have to teach our kids to work. That should be a priority for us, is to teach them how to work. And we tend to not. We think they should have a better life, and we make it easy for them. And that's what they want. They want the easy way. Caleb didn't do that. He didn't want the easy way.
Oh, great point. Y'all remember what Caleb said? Caleb was just the opposite. Yeah. He was like, hey, give me this place over there. I'm ready to go fight.
I'm as strong as ever.
He's 80, the oldest guy there. I'm ready to go fight. Yeah. And these are the young kids saying, no, we don't want to do it. But, Bob, I also think it tells us something about human nature. Human nature. Especially whenever it comes to dividing things up amongst a family. It gets ugly. You and I've shared stories that it just happens a lot of times inside of families. Yeah. That when you get to dividing stuff up, it can get ugly.
It sure can. We've seen that. I mean, I can give you stories about how that, and it seems like things can be going well, but when you get down to inheritance and what goes, everybody has some claim to
Yep.
certain things, and it can get very ugly.
It can. And I'm not going to say it always does, but a lot of times it does. And it is when it doesn't and families get along, it's beautiful. It really is.
That's where we as parents and as we get older, we need to take care of those things and try to prevent these things from happening.
Yeah.
My oldest brother called me one time, and he wanted to be the executor of the will, and he says, I know what's going to happen. There's going to be a turmoil. I don't have anything, but there's going to be a turmoil. And that's exactly the problems that you have to deal with to see. But it did turn out fine, this case, but you didn't expect it.
I was just reminded of a story of a lady that I used to work with, and it happened inside her family, and it's devastating whenever it happens. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's go through chapter 18. Any questions on chapter 16 or 17? All right, let's move. Oh, by the way, notice what the last thing he told Manasseh. What did he tell him? Drive them out. Yeah, I hope they did. Y'all want to guess? They didn't. All right. Let's keep going. Let's look at chapter 18. Let's read verses 1 through 4.
Now the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of meeting there, and the land was subdued before them. But there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not yet received their inheritance. Then Joshua said to the children of Israel, How long will you neglect to go and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers has given you? Pick out from among you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them. They shall rise and go through the land, survey it according to their inheritance, and come back to me.
All right. I'm not really sure exactly how this played out. It's hard to tell, but it sounds to me like, part of it, they had kind of the survey, and they cast the lots, and the lots fell, and the ones got it. And then the rest of them are just sitting there going, now what's for me? All right, you did that. Now what? And Joshua's like, why are y'all neglecting to actually go out and do what you have to do to get the inheritance? We're going to have to go out and get this surveyed. He says this word neglected. I think it's interesting the way that he says that, because, Bob, it painted in my mind this picture. When you think of the word neglect, it's if you neglect a car or a house or something, it deteriorates. And it's like y'all are just letting things just deteriorate because you're not taking care of what you have to take care of.
Yeah, and that's the way things are, and that's of nature. And, we've talked about the law of entropy.
The law of entropy.
The second law of thermodynamics. In other words, it says things go to disorder, go to confusion. They tear down. If you don't take care of a house and leave it unoccupied, it doesn't take long until the grass is growing up to how it just deteriorates. So we have to constantly maintain that nature. And that's one of the deals against evolution. Evolution, you would think everything would destroy itself, and it would. But evolution tells you.
It's so interesting when you look at the second law of thermodynamics and that law that says everything deteriorates, but yet the evolutionists will say that we're actually getting better, which is violation of the law that they say that they believe. But here's the thing. When he uses this word neglect, he's saying they're not taking care of what they should have taken care of. And so he says, I need each one of you. There's 7 tribes left. I need 3 from each one of you, and you're going to go survey the land so that we can actually divide it up. Here's the thing. I think that when he said the word neglect, do you know why he used that word neglect? Anybody want to have a thought on why he would have said you're neglecting this land? Why would he use that language? They had already won all of these battles. By them not taking the opportunity to go seize the property What was it allowing the others to do? Build their forces back. Build their forces back. They were neglecting taking advantage of the victories that they had already had in battle. And so they were letting people build back up their forces to be prepared to fight again. I think, Brother Bob, that's what he's saying here is y'all are allowing the enemy to start gathering strongholds again when we've already destroyed, we haven't utterly destroyed them, but we've conquered them. And so now you're allowing them time to build themselves back up because they did not follow through with what they needed to do.
That's right. And that created strongholds that they were not able to get rid of.
Not able to ever get rid of.
Yeah.
Let's read verses 5 through 7.
And they shall divide it into 7 parts. Judah shall remain in their territory on the south, and the house of Joseph shall remain in their territory on the north. You shall therefore survey the land in 7 parts, and bring the survey here to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. But the Levites have no part among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan on the east, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them.
Yeah, so basically he's saying, go out. I want you to divide it up into 7 areas. You're going to come back, and we're going to cast lots. Verse number 8, read what verse number 8 says.
Then the men arose to go away, and Joshua charged those who went to survey the land, saying, Go walk through the land, survey it, and come back to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord in Shiloh.
All right, it says, hey, go out there, get this survey done, come back. I'm going to cast lots before the Lord. And then in verse number 9.
So the men went, passed through the land, and wrote the survey in a book in 7 parts by cities. And they came to Joshua at the camp in Shiloh. Then Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord, and there Joshua divided the land to the children of Israel according to their divisions.
All right, so they go do the survey, and then they come back to Joshua, and Joshua casts lots, right? But that's not what Joshua did. What did Joshua actually do? Say that. He cast lots before the Lord. It wasn't that he cast lots. He cast lots before the Lord. In other words, he said, Lord, I want you to determine who is going to live where. And so they finally got it surveyed. So now let's read verse number 11.
Now the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families.
That's good enough. So verse number 11 is Benjamin. And so from there, the rest of this chapter is all the places that Benjamin got. It's up there on the map. It's right there in the blue, right there where Jerusalem is located. Right, you're almost down, up, right there. All right, that's where it outlines. This is also where you see the city of Jerusalem. It's not titled Jerusalem here. But it's listed inside this area.
Verse 28.
Verse 28. You'll see Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And so that's how we know that this Russian map is right, because of what it says right there. So, all right. Now let's go to chapter 19, verse number 1.
The second lot came out for Simeon, for the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families.
All right, so Simeon is next. He's the one that gets the second lot. So you will see that from verse 1 down to verse number 9. And then verse number 10.
The third.
Oh, wait,
Can
go
we
ahead.
read number 9?
Oh, read number 9. All right, read number 9.
The inheritance of the children of Simeon was included in the share of the children of Judah, for the share of the children of Judah was too much for them.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, the children of Simeon and their inheritance within the inheritance of that people.
Somebody got too much.
Somebody got too much. He wasn't Manasseh.
No.
But go ahead
Simeon.
and back up a little bit so that we can see Judah in it.
Down.
And you see Simeon, they're in the middle. So in other words, Judah had too much land, and so they cut Simeon out of the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's the
it
donut
was
hole.
surrounded all of it. Wonder why they got that land. Do you know what happened to Simeon? Do you know how many people they lost?
I'm glad you went there, brother. I forgot about that. Go ahead and cover that.
Simeon, if you go back and look in numbers and looked at what they had, they started out with 59,000 soldiers or men that were 20 years or older that could go to war. 59,000. And they ended up with 22,000. They lost 37,000 men in the wilderness.
In the wilderness, they lost more than any other tribe.
And if you look at all of them together, there was less than 2,000 in the total. So the several of them increased, but not Simeon. And that was because the sin, the sin of Baal of Peor, to where they were intermarried with the pagan women, and they brought it before Moses, and one of the priests killed them, chased them down.
Chased them down and killed them.
So God did not bless them. They lost 37,000.
Yeah, because they were like, yeah, we don't care. We're going to stay married. We're going to continue to do this.
Anyway.
And so if you go back and study that, you see that because of that sin, they were how many people short?
37,000.
37,000 people less than what they started with. And everyone else actually kind of grew. Not everyone, but it's close to everyone else got bigger. So there was only 2,000 people difference in the total of the number of Israelites, but over 30,000 lost here.
37,000, they decreased.
I'm so thankful you pointed that out, brother. Thank you. Verse number 10.
The third lot came out for the children of Zebulun, according to their families, and the border of their inheritance was as far as Sarid.
All right. Zebulun was next, and they run all the way down through verse number 15. Then verse number 17, the fourth lot.
The fourth lot came out to Issachar, for the children of Issachar, according to their families.
All right. I think he's finding Issachar on there somewhere. And so you see the fourth lot was cast. Issachar ended up with it. Did you find them? I think it is the red one. Yeah, there you go. Issachar. Now let's move to the fifth one, which is in verse number 24.
The fifth lot came out for the tribe of the children of Asher, according to their families.
All right, Asher ends up there. You see Asher up there in the top, right next to the sea, which was good. Then the sixth lot.
The sixth lot came out to the children of Naphtali, for the children of Naphtali, according to their families.
All right, Naphtali is right next to Asher. I think they must have been good friends. And now let's move on to the seventh lot. Remember, there were 7 that were left out. Let's look at the seventh lot.
The seventh lot came out for the tribe of the children of Dan, according to their families.
All right, Dan. Right over there, yeah. So right there next to the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
And so,
And we also find that Dan had an area north of there, and it just has the name Dan up above the Sea of Galilee. You can...
yeah, so if you go up,
Yeah, you have to...
and then you see where it says Dan
Yeah,
right there.
right there.
Yep.
And they became pagan worshipers. When we were in Jerusalem or in Israel, we went up into that area, and we were along some of the streams, beautiful water that feeds into the Jordan River. The tributaries were coming off of Mount Hermon and Mount Lebanon in there, and we went up to a pagan high place. Baal Dan, yeah.
Baal Dan.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful place. We had to climb a little bit, but we got up, and there's a huge flat rock, probably big as this room area here, and it had a kind of a cutout in the side of the cliff to where they worship and sacrifice their kids.
Wow.
pagan worship, and Dan was part of that.
There was a lot of pagan worship and I think that's why God told them to utterly destroy them, was because of the pagan worship. All right, we're going to stop there for the evening. We've now divided up the land, and look at all the chapters we went through tonight. Yeah. Anybody have any questions or thoughts? If not, you got anything else, Brother Bob?
No, we have to remember here, these are the 12 tribes of Israel. 6 of them was from who? Who was the father of 6 of them? Leah? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 of them from Rachel,
Yep.
Benjamin and Joseph. 2 from each of the concubines.
Yep. In fact, we should probably bring that chart out again. I think it'd be good to pass it out maybe. We've not looked at that in quite a while.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a word of prayer and we'll be dismissed. Father, Lord God, we come before your holy throne and so thankful for this evening, a time we can come and study your word. And Father, when we look at all that you have done and the way that you have directed your word and your scripture to be put together to help us to know who you are, but also, Father, to teach us the importance of following exactly what you tell us to do. Father, that we should not compromise on the direction that you have for us in our lives. Father, I ask that you help us to drive out the things inside our lives that should not be there, but yet hold fast and firm to the truth that you have inside your scripture. Oh, Father, I ask you'll have your hand upon this church. Father, please guide us and direct us into all truth. Let us be led by your Holy Spirit.